has really been about Russia losing the ground war and real question marks, about a diplomatic off-ramp.
Yeah, clearly they're losing the ground war. It also looks extremely unlikely that they're going to find a way to begin to win the ground war. You know, if you look at, we're almost at a year now. Kind of hard to believe, isn't it? But a year ago, we were saying, well, everybody, it seemed, was saying, you know, Russia's going to roll in. They're going to roll over Ukraine in short order. You know, if it goes a little bit longer than that, Putin will be able to divide Europe. And he will emerge bigger on the world stage, right? A more prominent role on the world stage. None of those things happen. In fact, quite to the contrary, the Ukrainians repelled the Russian assault. Europe is probably more united now than it's been at any point since the Cold War. And economically, Russia is facing a situation where they are isolated, at least to a very large extent. They're certainly isolated from what used to be a very large customer base in Europe. And they might be facing a permanent economic decline, or at least a very long-term economic decline. So they want an off-ramp, for sure.
Indeed.
But they also don't seem to be willing to give up on winning ground.
Indeed. And Moscow's list of allies is running short because even China and India are distancing themselves from Putin's war. It feels like the economy and Putin politically, domestically speaking, is hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, it does feel that way. You're right about India and China, of course. India is taking its go-it-alone, if you will, approach. India has been very overt in saying what we want to do is we want to pursue our self-interest. Jay Shankar, the foreign minister, has been saying that repeatedly, you know, that Europe's problems are not necessarily the world's problems anymore. And China is interesting because, you know, China, many believe, green-lighted the invasion in the first place when they met at the beginning of February, Putin and Xi Jinping.
And there are parallels with Taiwan as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's an entirely different ballgame. But at this point, where we stand right now, having seen how badly everything has gone for Russia, I actually think that China is a moderating influence on Russia, because the very worst case scenario, right, involves something nuclear. That's the unthinkable. That's what nobody wants. And you know who also doesn't want it? You know who also doesn't want that level of instability? Xi Jinping. And Vladimir Putin, he has two reasons to keep a lid on that. One is that he doesn't want to die, personally. You know, I mean, let's get real about it. But the second thing is he knows who the boss is. And Xi Jinping doesn't want that level of upset in the world economy, and he's going to fall in line.
And then there are, speaking of the world economy, there are implications for the supply chains, there are implications for the energy shortages, the energy crisis, and food supplies as well. Let's leave that one for now, Ted. In terms of what is trending on CNBC.com, I'm sure it's the Russia-Ukraine war, but I'm sure there's markets in this inauspicious start that we had in the US markets just overnight in the first trading day of the new year.
Yes, it's like we picked off, or we picked up right where we left off, right? Indeed. Two big US names are among the three biggest stories that we're covering on CNBC.com. Tesla, bigger sales or bigger unit volume moved. It's the closest they ever get to reporting sales, but lower than expectations. They fell a big 12%. That is obviously continuing a trend that Tesla was following last year. And Apple also losing ground, falling below a $2 trillion market cap. Again, fear of inflation, fear of higher rates. You're seeing the tech names like Apple get hit.
Supply chain issues in China as well.
Supply chain issues as well, certainly. And Apple, you know, each one of those iPhones, I think, has somewhere in the order of like 12 advanced chips in it.
Right.
So that's a problem for them. And then, as you said, the Ukraine Live blog, which we just have relaunched this week after taking a week off last week, is the #1 story on the site. In particular, people are looking at this attack that occurred right as the clock struck midnight on New Year's, where in Makayivka, where the Ukrainians appear to have inflicted serious casualties on the Russians with a HIMARS attack.